St. Petersburg, the 90s. The city is sinking into chaos, corruption, and crime. Adults are dealing with their own serious problems. Some are fostering crime, while others are trying to fight it. Meanwhile, the children of this troubled time are left to their own devices. Igor Grom, the son of a police officer, Konstantin Grom. His childhood was especially difficult. A group of foreign criminals is engaged in vegetable canning at abandoned warehouses. But along with pickled garlic, jars are filled with packets of illegal substances. The gang leader watches with delight, counting the profits. But then, the warehouse fills with strange, dark smoke, and before the criminals appears, him Anubis, an ancient Egyptian figure. Konstantin Grom and his partner, Fyodor Prokopenko, arrive at the scene of the burned-down warehouse. The officers interrogate the sole surviving criminal, but he proves to be very stubborn. Grom uses a forbidden tactic, a concrete slab. Not even his partners please stop him. Konstantin presses the button, and the slab lowers over the guy's head. Grom pulls him out just before the slab falls. Terrified, the criminal reveals the truth about a mysterious being with power over the entire city, able to draw souls from people. Back at the station, Grom reports everything to his superior, Elena Komarova, but she refuses to listen to any nonsense about monsters. Instead, she sends Konstantin on vacation. Yuri Smirnov, Grom's colleague and friend, once again asks him for a loan, promising to help catch Anubis in return. At home, Konstantin is met by his son Igor. The boy won a gold medal in an English language competition, but he's upset that his father didn't come to support him. They celebrate Igor's victory with fresh shawarma, which helps them make peace and enjoy a quiet family evening. In the morning, the family is in a great mood, and Igor works up the courage to talk to his father. For his medal, he's entitled to a trip to Disneyland, but they'll have to cover the cost themselves. The sum alarms the police officer, and he tries to convince his son that the trip isn't that necessary. This infuriates Igor, and he struggles to hold back from starting another argument. Composing himself, Igor proposes a bet. They'll play chess, and the winner gets the prize. If Igor wins, they'll spend the savings on a ticket to Disneyland. If his father wins, Igor promises to wash the dishes for a year. Konstantin keeps getting distracted, watching a news report about Anubis. But that doesn't stop him from winning, and Igor gloomily heads to the sink. A phone call interrupts them, and Grom Sr. hears Smirnov's voice, who has obtained important information about Anubis. While the police officer is busy with the call, Igor steals one bullet from his father's gun. Left alone at home, Igor rushes to his best friend, Ignat, a young entrepreneur. After hearing about the situation, Ignat promises to help raise money for the Disneyland trip. The boys' first venture is a dangerous show. For a fee, they invite friends to watch a trick with the stolen bullet. Igor ties the bullet above a fire, and the group hides around the corner to see the bullet pierce a glass jar. The bullet flies, but it hits not the jar, but the car of a local crime boss. Most of the boys manage to scatter, leaving only Igor and Ignat before the gangster. As punishment for their mischief, the boys hand over all the money they've earned. They also end up hanging from a fence, but that's the best-case scenario. Escaping the trap, the boys head downtown and find a new way to make money. Journalist Prisharov hands them a camera and a piece of paper with an address. He tasks them with sneaking into a meeting of the criminal elite and filming a report that will help him gain fame. Unaware of his son's plans, Grom Sr. arrives at the same location. Fyodor tries to talk his partner out of it, but as usual, Konstantin decides to check everything himself. Smirnov sides with Grom and promises to cover him. The officers sneak to the exit to get their hands on costumes. Prisharov also explains the path for Igor and Ignat to safely enter. The policemen don masks and cloaks and find themselves in an abandoned building. In the dark hall, dozens of people have already gathered, including famous crime bosses, businessmen, and financial pyramid schemers. Igor and Ignat take their place, where they can see the whole hall clearly. Just then, strange figures enter. The crowd nervously watches the ritual. A man steps into the center, calling himself Anubis' chief assistant, and he announces the party is open. A few minutes later, everyone falls to their knees. The great Anubis appears before the crowd, and a frightened whisper spreads through the hall. To convince the guests of the reality of what's happening, Anubis' servants open wooden crates containing the bodies of enemies. Igor captures every detail on camera, but unexpectedly recognizes his father by a mark on his hand, which he had drawn before leaving. The camera battery dies, and while trying to fix it, Igor accidentally drops the cassette. He's forced to leave his hiding spot to retrieve it. Anubis' servant announces time for individual consultations. All the worthy ones can follow the god and learn their fate. Smirnov's courage runs out, and he suggests calling in the SWAT team. But Grom Sr., as always, refuses to back down and follows the crowd. The first to descend into the underground is the infamous Mavrodi. He leaves a small offering and finds himself face-to-face with the great god. The pyramid's founder talks about capital difficulties and financial risks, and Anubis agrees to resolve the issue for 30% of the profit. While everyone is distracted, Grom Sr. grabs Anubis. The deity's guards start to fight, and panic breaks out among the guests. The ancient beings turn out to be armed with modern weapons. A shootout begins, and Igor leaves his hiding spot to help his father. Ignat stays by the exit, and Prisharov gives him a new task. The journalist steps right into the battlefield to capture a hot report from the scene. Smirnov comes to his friend's aid. He takes down almost all the guards, and the officers cover each other as they look for the main participant in the mystical party. While Smirnov holds the line, Grom navigates the maze of corridors and finds Anubis. Despite hallucinations starting to plague him, Grom fights. He gets wounded, but the mark on his hand reminds him that his son is waiting for him at home. Grom discovers his superior, Elena Komorova. He had long recognized her by the scent of her perfume, which had permeated the entire department. Komorova explains her actions. She's convinced that the only way to defeat crime is to lead it. In her opinion, her Anubis spectacle has brought order to the city, and now they can control the entire criminal world. Elena shows Grom Sr. a vault filled with money, but the money doesn't tempt him, and he warns his boss that the SWAT team is on the way. Smirnov has a different plan. Without warning, he eliminates Komorova and suggests splitting the money with his partner. The police officer believes they've earned a pleasant bonus, but Grom orders his friend to raise his hands. Grom sees Smirnov reaching for his gun and fires first, but his clip is missing one bullet, and instead of a shot, there's a soft click. Smirnov, unlike his partner, fires successfully. Igor appears behind Grom and understands what's happened. Smirnov points his gun at Igor, but Grom Sr. has just enough strength left to save his son. He fights the traitor and takes 2 more bullets, leaving him no chance for survival. The next few years pass in a haze for Igor. Fyodor Prokopenko takes him in, the boy finishes school, joins the army, and eventually becomes a mirror image of his father. Forgetting the past is impossible. Sometimes his father visits Igor in his dreams, and the boy always asks forgiveness for the stolen bullet. But now he's no longer alone. Next to Igor is Yulia, with whom he can talk about his dream of visiting Disneyland. Meanwhile, in a closed psychiatric clinic, Dr. Rubinstein is conducting another experiment on his mysterious patient, Sergei Razumovsky. Many years ago, a group of young thugs chased a frightened dog along the beach. A boy stood up for the animal, and a few minutes later, he was left alone on the beach with his 4-legged friend. But let's return to Petersburg. There, Major Igor Grom is chasing a van full of robbers. Grom crashes through everything in his path, nearly catching up to the van. Finally, a passenger bus blocks the robbers' escape, and the Major manages to leap onto the vehicle. For a moment, Igor thinks his life and career are over. But, as usual, the policeman finds a way out. He jumps into the garbage truck and rams the van. Police Chief Fyodor Prokopenko addresses the citizens at Palace Square. That's where Grom brings the van full of money. Grom doesn't always win, but failure happens rarely. A new employee joins the department, Dmitry Dubin. One of the officers gives the rookie a tour of the bustling station. Dubin gets acquainted with the evidence storage in the holding cells where all the violators are kept. When Fyodor enters the room, everyone falls silent. The chief orders someone to bring Grom, and the staff starts betting on whether Prokopenko will fire Igor this time or not. Meanwhile, an unsuspecting Grom is sleeping in the holding cell. In a great mood, he heads to the boss's office, listens to a tirade about his terrible behavior, and writes a resignation letter, which Prokopenko, as usual, throws into his desk drawer. The money collected by the bettors is handed over by Igor to the robbed old man. The news report tells of a trial involving the son of a powerful businessman. Grom heads to the hearing to find out what punishment the boy will face, but the court turns out to be corrupt. The boy is acquitted of all charges. The friend of the girl who died because of the spoiled rich kid tries to take revenge, but Grom stops him. He asks the boy not to do anything foolish and promises to get to the bottom of it. In an elite skyscraper, a presentation of the ultra-modern social network, Vmesty, is taking place. Its creator, the genius Sergei Razumovsky, demonstrates Margot, a highly intelligent virtual assistant. Next to Sergei is his best friend, Oleg Volkov. Sergei ends the presentation abruptly after hearing the news of the release of the criminal rich kid. Volkov helps his friend avoid the journalist, promising him to take care of the criminal so that he will no longer harm anyone. Grom spends the evening at Prokopenko's house. The men reminisce about the late Konstantin, and Fyodor asks the young man not to take the same risks his father did. Igor gets a call from the orphanage, asking for help to find the boy he had spoken to at the courthouse. Meanwhile, the plague doctor visits the criminal rich kid's home. He corners the boy and punishes him to the fullest extent of the law. Grom happens to be nearby at that moment, and he tries to apprehend the vigilante. But the plague doctor defends himself with fire and manages to escape. Igor's colleagues laugh at his story about a man with a beak, but only Dubin takes it seriously. He sketches a composite image of the criminal and hands it to Grom. Grom interrogates the boy who was also at the crime scene, but the boy is fascinated by the masked man's work, admiring how he managed to punish the guilty. All day long, Grom studies the file on the dead rich kid and stories about the plague doctor. The major finishes work late at night, grabs his favorite shawarma on the way home, and heads back. In the yard, Grom witnesses an attack. This time, some thugs are trying to rob a girl, and the major saves her like a real hero. He brings the victim to his home, but while he makes tea for her, the girl takes pictures of his documents and escapes. Outside, she pays the thugs for their help and ditches her stylish wig. When the plague doctor enters the room and removes his mask, Sergei Razumovsky is shocked. Beneath it is his friend, Oleg Volkov. Razumovsky tries to explain to his friend that this is not the way to deal with things, but Volkov is convinced there are no other ways to achieve justice. News about the plague doctor spreads through the city, and he becomes a national hero. The next victim is a bank executive. Upon learning of this, Grom realizes that the plague doctor is gaining momentum. The vigilante launches his own channel, gaining millions of subscribers. People paint him on posters, chant his name, and turn him into a city icon. The investigation is handed over to a man from Moscow, Evgeny Strelkov. Grom is unhappy with the idea, but Prokopenko asks him not to argue with the smiling officer. Another unpleasant surprise for Igor is Dubin being assigned as his partner, despite Grom always working alone. The citizens are in awe of the plague doctor's feats, but Prokopenko addresses the public, asking them not to build illusions and to help catch the criminal. Grom and Dubin are tasked with finding missing refrigerators from the market, and the officers head out. But in reality, Igor is going to meet his childhood friend, Ignat. Ignat provides his friend with a list of all those who might know something about the plague doctor. However, the interviews yield no results. Even after persuasive questioning, no one can give any information. The officers return by ferry, and along the way, Igor explains to the trainee that all these trendy gadgets are traps. The Major himself remains loyal to his old push-button phone. This conversation gives the Major an idea. He gets off at the nearest bridge and heads to Razumovsky's office. Grom asks the genius to help track the operator who uploaded the video to the network, but Razumovsky assures him that all data is securely encrypted. Igor returns to the station, and Dubin shows him a report by a popular blogger, Yulia Shulkina. Grom recognizes the star. It's the same girl he saved from the thugs. Igor sneaks into her apartment and, meeting her after work, asks her not to do such things again. To drive the point home, Grom washes Yulia's laptop. Literally. While the entire city is searching for him, the plague doctor punishes his next victim. This time, he targets an entire family. The citizens split into two camps. Some believe things have gone too far, while others continue to admire the hero and aspire to emulate him. Razumovsky starts to panic. He also believes the monopolist family should not have been harmed and that Volkov went too far. But the maniac refuses to stop. He plans to eliminate anyone who has harmed ordinary citizens. The station is overrun with fans of the doctor and his merchandise. Dubin comes up with an idea and goes to Grom to share the latest developments. Dubin suggests that the next victim could be someone from the opening of the Golden Dragon, a new casino for the city's elite. Ignat helps Grom get a fancy suit and an elite car. The Major arrives at the elite party and blends into the crowd. Among the guests is Razumovsky, but he keeps to himself and avoids talking to anyone. The casino's founder takes the stage, thanking the elite for their visit and wishing them a good time. While Razumovsky listens to the speech, Volkov appears behind him. The young man realizes why his friend came to the party and tries to stop him. Grom spots a familiar face in the crowd. He takes a hidden camera from Yulia Chokina and invites her to dance. But the girl is clever. She manages to get her camera back and slip away. A confrontation between the casino owner and Razumovsky begins. At the same time, a raid on the casino is launched. Dubin sets out to help his partner, but Strelkov notices him. He finds the right words to get Dubin to reveal all the details and plans. Raiders attack Razumovsky, and Grom is forced to join the fray. Yulia films everything on camera, capturing the arrival of the SWAT team led by Strelkov. Razumovsky thanks Grom for saving him, but the officer from Moscow reprimands the Major and fires him. The person who suffers most from this is Major Igor Grom, breaks her phone to ensure the footage of him doesn't get out. Prokopenko tries to defend his subordinate, but Strelkov leaves no choice, and the Major leaves his job. This time, the money his colleagues had bet on goes to Dubin, with Grom hinting that he knows who ratted him out. Grom spends the evening with Fyodor, and his old friend advises him to start a family so as not to be lonely all the time. This conversation reminds Grom of the journalist. He goes to her to apologize for breaking her phone. Despite his dismissal, Grom continues to search for the criminal. He visits the orphanage where Razumovsky grew up. In one of the genius's notebooks, the Major finds some interesting drawings, images of the plague doctor. Igor checks his theory and confronts Razumovsky. The young man realizes why Grom has come and claims it's all Volkov's fault, who is also in the room. But Igor rejects these accusations. Oleg Volkov died in Syria a year ago. In fear, Razumovsky knocks the Major out. But now it's clear that all this time, Razumovsky has been the one attacking people. The genius became this way back on that day at the beach when he took down the bullies to protect a dog. Two sides of Sergei Razumovsky battle within him, but the dark half proves stronger. When he comes to, Razumovsky opens a secret room where the plague doctor's suit is stored. Strelkov's team arrives at the Golden Dragon Casino where the raid is taking place. At the same time, the plague doctor regains consciousness, but under the mask is Igor Grom. Realizing that he has been framed, Major Grom tries to escape, and at first everything seems to be going well. But Dima Dubin, eager to regain his partner's trust, takes a heroic step and apprehends the criminal. Strelkov is thrilled to learn that Grom is to blame for everything. He doesn't believe in the theory of Razumovsky's guilt, and Grom is sent to prison. A search of his apartment reveals plenty of evidence of Grom's alleged crimes, shocking everyone, including Prokopenko. Igor is visited by his lawyer, Yulia Chokina. She leaves him a paperclip and promises to do everything she can to help him break free. Dima Dubin also joins the rescue mission. He brings his partner a police uniform, and the men escape to the street where Yulia is waiting for them. The group hides out at Prokopenko's dacha, where Grom formulates a plan. However, he forbids his young friends from joining him, deeming it too dangerous. To ensure this, Igor locks Dubin in the storage room and orders Yulia to stand guard. Grom throws on a jacket and hijacks Prokopenko's motorcycle. He heads to Razumovsky's skyscraper, where the genius is already waiting for him, ready to get rid of his visitor. A battle ensues in the hall. The plague doctor uses flamethrowers, but Grom manages to disarm him. Captured, the maniac orders his virtual assistant to upload a video to his channel. In the video, he urges his followers not to stop and to continue his work. Chaos erupts in the city. Offenders feel invincible, and the streets turn into a battlefield. Masked criminals even break into people's homes. Razumovsky manages to break free and attacks Grom again. The Major tries to retreat through the winding corridors, but alone he has little chance of escaping the torrents of fire. Fortunately, Shulkina and Dubin disobey Grom's orders. They rescue the Major, and after a brief rest, Grom regains his strength and starts a new round, after which Razumovsky is finally subdued. The police restore order in the streets under Prokopenko's leadership. Grom's friends bind Razumovsky, and Dubin hopes this will help him earn his partner's forgiveness. But Razumovsky shows no signs of relief. He promises to twist the situation in such a way that Igor and his friends end up behind bars. Maybe he could have done something like that, but Shulkina is one step ahead. She recorded all of the mad genius's conversations to prove his guilt. Grom hands the criminal over to his colleagues, but Strelkov insists that the Major must still be punished. For this, Prokopenko gives the Moscow officer a stern blow and asks him to stay out of it from now on. However, the capture of Razumovsky is still credited to Strelkov. The officer receives a medal and is hailed as a hero, but Grom doesn't mind. He climbs onto the roof with his friends to enjoy his favorite shawarma. Razumovsky ends up in the hands of Dr. Rubinstein, who finds him a very interesting subject. A year passes since the plague doctor's arrest. Major Grom becomes a true hero, thanks to the publicity organized by his girlfriend, Yulia Shulkina. But a new strange story begins in the city. A riot breaks out in a prison. Numerous journalists and police officers gather around, but Grom goes in to negotiate, accompanied only by Dima Dubin. At first, he tries to resolve the situation peacefully, but the conversation escalates into a mass brawl. For a moment, Igor is captured by one of the inmates, but Dubin saves his partner with his trusty taser. Journalists greet the officers as real heroes. Shulkina helps Grom answer their questions, but he quickly gets bored and leaves Dubin to handle the crowd. Meanwhile, the Major promises his girlfriend a romantic dinner at a restaurant in honor of their anniversary. Now the city is obsessed with Major Grom. In the northern capital, his cap, leather jacket, and lightning bolt become symbols of a superhero. In one of the courtyards, a monument to the Major is even erected. Igor becomes a true symbol of safety. At the police department, Grom's popularity continues to grow. After work, he often relaxes with colleagues, and Prokopenko advises Dima Dubin to pursue personal success so as not to fade in his partner's shadow. Dubin decides to begin his journey to personal success by investigating the prison riot, while everyone else is having fun at the bar. Grom and Prokopenko return home in the early morning, having had a bit too much to drink. The men once again reminisce about Konstantin Grom, who was very dear to both of them. In the morning, Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs Maria Arkhipova arrives at the station. She insists that the police force needs optimization and that weak employees should be replaced with modern drones. Prokopenko tries to defend his subordinates, but Arkhipova proposes a test. If the humans outperform the drones, she will cancel the order. Otherwise, the department will have to agree to her terms. After the fun night, Grom doesn't immediately understand why he's being summoned to work, but he manages to arrive on time, assemble a strong team, and show excellent results. Despite their efforts, the drone proves faster than even the best officers. The entire department, Arkhipova and Ilgus Vanderholt, the creator of the smart machines, watch closely as the drone triumphs. After the demonstration, Holt is ready to sign the contract, but Arkhipova says they need a few more years to implement the drones. This answer infuriates the creator, and he promises to take drastic measures. Grom remembers his date with Yulia. Thanks to his newfound fame, he manages to book a table, and he brings his girlfriend to the rooftop of a skyscraper, where he gives her the keys to his apartment. Their rendezvous is interrupted by the appearance of a strange robot, which explodes before their eyes. Looking around, Grom spots the culprit on a nearby roof, and he jumps over to catch him. The two men fight, but the opponent proves to be formidable. Grom manages to catch a glimpse of a tattoo on the man's hand before the mysterious figure throws him out the window. When Grom regains consciousness, he answers a call from the anonymous figure. The man poses a riddle to the Major, warning that if he answers incorrectly, a tragedy will occur in the city. Igor heads to Palace Square and tries to solve the puzzle, but he gets it wrong, and the famous column collapses, threatening to crush innocent civilians. The anonymous figure is disappointed, but gives Grom his next ultimatum. The Major must resign, or all of his loved ones will suffer. Journalists swarm the station, seeking comments. Yulia, now a well-known figure herself, manages to slip away with some polite phrases. Meanwhile, Holt is training at his mansion, using an innovative artificial spine. The news that his drones outperform the best police officers gives the man strength, and he lands a devastating blow. Yulia and Dubin meet Grom at his apartment, but the Major asks them to leave. He tells Dubin not to get involved and tells Shulkina that they need to break up, but Dubin refuses to back down. He visits the prison where the recent riot occurred and meets with its organizer. It's crucial for the officer to find out who from the leadership helped the inmates, and he finds the right arguments to extract the information he needs. Yulia is also trying to get to the bottom of things. She goes to the psychiatric hospital and attempts to get information about the man with the tattoo from Dr. Rubinstein. However, the experienced psychiatrist doesn't fall for the girl's tricks. He hypnotizes Yulia to find out why she's coming to his office. Yulia manages to escape from the doctor's trap. She demands the address of the patient with the tattoo, and Rubinstein hands her a slip of paper with the coordinates. After the unpleasant conversation, the doctor visits his favorite patient, Razumovsky. Grom arrives at an abandoned building to meet with a journalist who can help him track down the anonymous figure. The old man tells the Major about the Dead Squad, a unit in which each member has a tattoo with the number 1526. The journalist also says that this squad is connected to Holt. He sells his weapons all over the world, and the mysterious army is his main client. The anonymous figure gives Grom a new task. He must go to Vitebsk station and open a locker. The Major quickly completes the task, but there's a new surprise awaiting him. In order to get the code and a hint, the breathalyzer in the locker must show a 100% result. The Major has no choice but to visit a nearby bar and drink everything they have. This catches the attention of his fans, who eagerly record the event to upload it online. Finally, the Major achieves the required reading, but moving forward becomes difficult. Inside the box, Grom finds a crossword puzzle. He locks himself in an elevator to solve it, and after getting 3 words, he heads to the circus, confident that the device is planted there. The Major has to put on a real show to grab the audience's attention and get them to leave the building. But it's all for nothing. The explosion occurs in another part of the city, and the anonymous figure gleefully laughs on the phone. Panic returns to the city. People are frightened by the increasing incidents and the bizarre behavior of the famous Major Grom, who has now seriously embarrassed himself. Archipova returns to Holt to finalize the contract. She's convinced that drones are now indispensable, but the seller raises the price, taking advantage of the situation. Suddenly, Grom bursts into the room. He tells Archipova everything he's discovered and demands that Holt's assistant show his hand. But there is no mark, leaving Grom looking foolish. Ignoring the crazy Major, Archipova signs the contract. Back at the police station, Archipova demands Grom's dismissal. However, Prokopenko submits his own resignation instead of his subordinate, and the deputy minister takes his place. Prokopenko personally informs the journalists, ensuring that the best officer won't be fired. Holt contacts Grom and repeats his demand for him to resign, no longer hiding the fact that he is behind everything. Dubin visits the prison warden to find out who financed the prison riot. The bribed official tries to flee the interrogation, but his car explodes, killing an important witness. Dubin recognizes the smell of the explosive and heads to the evidence locker, where Razumovsky's items are stored. However, the boxes are empty. On the day of the riot, someone broke in and stole the supplies. Yulia travels to Karelia to find an old hermit in the forest. The hermit isn't happy about the visit from a stranger, but she finds common ground with him and asks who from his dead squad colleagues might be wreaking havoc in the city. Meanwhile, Holt calls this person, warning him that a hunt has begun due to a mistake with the mark. The name the hermit gives Yulia leaves her in shock. The hermit claims that all of this is being done by Oleg Volkov. Holt's mercenaries arrive at Volkov's hideout to eliminate him, but the experienced warrior sets a trap from which no one escapes alive. Holt watches on his monitor as his men are picked off one by one. When only the strongest mercenary is left standing, Volkov faces him in a one-on-one fight. Despite the size difference, the ghostly man prevails. After speaking with the hermit, Yulia releases a report on Volkov. Grom gathers his team and warns them that they're facing an extremely dangerous opponent, one they must stop at all costs. The department launches a search through surveillance footage, and all bearded men become targets of suspicion. This causes serious problems for the city's residents, but Volkov remains at large. 1 year earlier, upon learning of his best friend's arrest, Volkov broke into the clinic to rescue Razumovsky, but the plan wasn't to free him. Cameras catch Volkov smiling directly into the lens. Dubin spends several days in the evidence locker and finally finds a clue. Among Razumovsky's belongings was a hidden compartment for a flash drive, which was stolen along with the substances. Grom gathers a team and heads to Holt's mansion, but there he finds Prokopenko sitting on a throne with explosives strapped to him, and the German reminds the Major of the rules of the game. For bringing his colleagues, Holt activates the device. Prokopenko dies. Dubin supports his friend and tells him about Razumovsky's hidden stash. The Major immediately heads to the clinic and interrogates the plague doctor until he is stopped with medication. Igor wakes up in Rubinstein's office. The doctor tells the Major about Sergei's split personality and explains that the two sides can be identified by their eye color. Razumovsky's eyes are blue, while his alter ego, the plague doctor, has yellow eyes. Rubinstein hypnotizes Igor and asks him questions about Volkov. This forces the Major to recall everything he's been through over the past few days. Archipova holds a farewell ceremony for Prokopenko and immediately afterwards shakes Holt's hand, launching the first drones. Volkov breaks into a television studio and uploads Razumovsky's flash drive into the central computer. He addresses the city's residents and announces 2 things. First, everyone in the subway will be locked inside, and second, to save the people in the city, the residents must eliminate Grom within 3 hours. He also disables the drones so they can't disrupt his plans. A hunt for Grom begins. His recent fans now become his executioners. On the rooftop, the Major contemplates what to do when his friends find him. Dubin urges his partner to pull himself together and decide how they will save the people. His proposal: they must kidnap Razumovsky, who can disable the virus and render Volkov powerless. The Major handles this part of the plan perfectly. He takes the patient, and while Dubin and Yulia distract the police, Igor takes him out to the water. Razumovsky asks Grom for a favor. When all of this is over, he doesn't want to return to the clinic, even if it means parting with his life. Yulia and Dubin are brought to the station. Archipova orders them to be taken to her office for questioning. Igor finds Volkov. While the 2 men fight, Razumovsky heads to the computer to free the people from the subway and deactivate the threat. After several attempts, he succeeds. The timer stops, and the people are freed as the drones are reactivated. This is reported to Archipova, and it seems that they've won and the threat is over. But at that moment, the plague doctor awakens. The psychopath gets comfortable and begins to reveal the plan they developed a year ago. The drones that Holt supplied will now target anyone who has ever come into contact with Grom, even if it was just a brief encounter. Those people will be eliminated. To savor his triumph, Razumovsky disposes of Volkov, and the screen lights up with hundreds of photos of people the drones have already been dispatched to target. Dozens of people start dying in the streets, including Igor's colleagues and casual acquaintances. Meanwhile, Holt is preparing for his solo victory, strapping on a new invention. The drones intensify their attack, and there's no hiding, even indoors. The police try to defend themselves, but with little success. In the studio, Volkov regains consciousness, but before him stands Holt in a flying superhero suit. He aims at all the partygoers, but as this happens, Grom tries to stop Razumovsky. On the screen, the photos light up red, symbolizing a hit target. Grom orders Razumovsky to stop this, but the madman insists it's impossible. First, the drones will eliminate all of the Major's contacts, and then they'll find him. Dubin protects the women at the station, but his valiant speech is cut short by a drone's burst of fire. He falls to the ground, and his photo lights up red on the screen. Next to Yulia's picture, a signal appears, indicating an imminent hit. Grom finds a way out. He grabs Razumovsky and takes a selfie with him. The picture is instantly uploaded to the system, and the drones pivot to destroy their main target. The plague doctor immediately remembers the combination to stop the program and begins entering it. At the same time, Arkhipova tries to resuscitate Dubin. Finally, Razumovsky deactivates the program. The drones fall and Dubin regains consciousness, but Grom notices a wound on the genius's body, one he likely won't survive. Razumovsky's eyes turn back to their blue color, and he falls still in the Major's arms. The city mourns the dead and erases Grom's images from the streets. Holt is taken to the hospital, and Volkov is sent to prison. Major Grom must stand trial, and Yulia prepares a speech for him, meant to sway the judge and audience. Arkhipova speaks first. She acknowledges all of the officers' violations, but assures the court that Grom had no other choice if he wanted to save the city. Igor pulls out the prepared speech, but after reading a few lines, puts it back in his pocket. The Major also admits to all his violations and asks the court to punish him to the fullest extent of the law. The court retires to deliberate, and the courtroom erupts in applause, standing in honor of the hero.